What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday. God, what is... You see this? You see that shit? I'm trying to grow my...
It's so silver, I couldn't see it.
Wow. I'm trying to grow my hair out here, so just cut me a break. Sunday. Figured I'd give you guys a video. Didn't really come here to work on stuff. Came here to clean up. Mason's here. Well, look at the shirt he's rocking. This is just an absolute classic. Look at that. What size is that?
It's a medium. It's a little small.
Alright, guys. Before we really get rolling in today's video talking about Slick Rick, want to let you guys know we got our Storm Training Day Rodeo coming up here February 4th. That's this upcoming Saturday here at LS Nasty. We're going to get people signed up. We're going to get people kind of trained on what we got going on doing the storm work. It's an amazing money-making opportunity. My man Mason was gone for a few days. What did you just make? How much money did you make? Just a couple days you were gone.
A little over $2,000.
I think hunting on 3.
Yeah, hunting on 3.
3,000. No, that's not a bad, like, oh, like, hey, I'm just going to go do a little work for a couple days.
Yeah.
You'll take it?
I'll take it.
All right, I'm glad he's all right with that. Money-making opportunity out there for everyone. It's 2023. Time to get it. If you guys are interested, get with me. First link in the description below will be to the flyer, the event page. Please click if you're interested or if you're going, so we know who's coming, because we're going to have food and everything like that. So February 4th, 9 a.m. here at LS Nasty. We'll do a Storm Training Day. So Slick Rick, we're going to get this thing out the trailer. Talk about some stuff we got going on. There's a lot of unanswered questions, and I'm going to give you guys like the rundown. We don't keep any secrets here. We're going to give you guys the rundown of what we got going on. The Dyno Day was a success, but it was also learning for us. A lot of things that were, well, really there's like one main thing that was out of our control that's really causing us to kind of halt progress on it as far as like on the dyno and taking it to the track. And that's something that we just have to address. It's part of what we're doing here. So let's get this thing out. We'll give you guys a walkthrough. I guess I can fire it up and drive it in, technically speaking.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
We don't want to push it.
No, we don't want to do that.
I mean, it's way too heavy to push.
Way too heavy to push. Like, you might have to use one, maybe 2 fingers to push it.
Is it me or does it sound way different now that it's been tuned?
Oh, and it runs on 8 cylinders. That's a big, that's a bonus as well. Dude, this sucker is bad to the bone. Dude, when you rev it, the whole car's like, ah.
Yeah.
If I didn't have this nice Race Tech 4100 seat here with head restraints, I'd have a concussion to bang it off the bar every time I revved it.
And a broken neck.
And a broken neck. Oh, God. All right, guys. So let's go over this here. We'll set Mason free here. I'll take the camera. So we have a few things to talk about. What's going on with Slick Rick? Obviously, I mentioned that the converter was not happy. So pretty much what happens here, we're gonna do an illustration here. All right. So this is your RPM, right? You're on the two-step, right? You're on the two-step, you're on the two-step. Normally, when you let go of the trans brake, you're gonna go, wah, and it rolls over here, right? And you bang the shift, and then it starts coming back up, and then through the finish line, then you're done. That is pretty much what a standard pass looks like. So you're on the two-step here, like here's your idle, right? And you get up on the two-step, and then you're on the two-step right here, so we'll call this 4200. Rolls over to, I don't know, let's just say like it starts the rollover at like 6,000, and then you're up here and you bang the shift at 8,000. Okay, my scaling's kind of off, but that makes sense. Then right here my drop wouldn't show like a 2,000 RPM drop, which isn't correct, but it makes sense. All right, so idle, two-step, let go of the button, boom, flashes up, then the converter starts to tighten up, starts to lock up, you bang the shift, second gear, through the stripe, good to go. That's what it looks like on the dyno when you're using a hub dyno, leaving off of the brake and everything like that. That's what it looks like at the track. That's what a normal converter looks like. We went to the dyno yesterday and we thought that there was a boost leak or something wrong because it just wasn't, there was no flash. When you let go of the button, it didn't come up. It just sounded like it was one-to-one off the two-step, and instead of flashing, it would just go like straight out. So we put more boost to it. We checked for boost leaks. We did all of that. Everything came back good. We turned it up, right? So on low power, if a converter is super tight, you got to understand, these torque converters are built for like a power rating. So if you have a 2,000 horsepower converter and you're running on 800 horsepower, it's not going to act right. It's going to be very tight. It's not going to have that flash like I just showed you guys. So when it was very low boost, it was doing the same thing. So, you know, we were like, all right, let's turn her up. Let's leave at 5,000 RPMs. Okay, so we got our idle here. We're on the two-step at 5,000 RPMs, which is very high. And then we click the button with like 30 pounds of dome pressure, which should be, you know, a lot of boost. 20 pounds of boost on that, that's a big-ass motor. 18 pounds of boost is a lot of boost. That turbo is humongous. So that turbo will still probably make 60 to 70 pounds of boost. So in the big picture, it's not a lot, but if you were to make that kind of boost on an LS, it might be like, I don't know, 35 pounds, hence the horsepower being so high. But 18 pounds isn't a lot, so we 5,000 RPM launch, 30 pounds of boost. Kevin clicks the button, and the RPM just goes straight out, and then it starts to climb like this, and then boom, when it hits the shift, boom, 2,000 RPM drop, and it comes back up. So this lack of flash of the converter is a telltale sign something's not right. This massive RPM drop, when you start putting power in there and the RPM drop doesn't go away, that's not good. Something's wrong. So I'll give you guys, this is what it looks like on the data log. This is why it's important to be able to interpret data. So let's say you're at the track and you're trying to figure out if your converter is loose or tight. Forget the flash, this part, forget the flash and the rollover. We're just going to opt that out. We're just going to talk about the gear shift because this will tell you a lot. If you're flying through here, right, and you're just barely climbing and then you're shifting at, let's just say 8,000 RPMs is where we're making our shift at. If this thing drops down to 6,000 and then starts climbing back up, your converter is way too tight. That is just way too big of an RPM drop. You do not want 2,000 RPMs to drop. If you're up there, and here you are again, 8,000 RPMs right here, and it drops 50, right? Right here, this goes to, sorry, my math, dude, my math, 7,950. Your converter's probably too loose. You're just blowing through the converter. You're not putting the power from the engine to the ground. You want to have the optimal RPM drop. So you guys need to look at it. You can tell in the data. You can look at the G meter. There's a number of different things at the track that you could tell. Being on the dyno, seeing this, there's no point to put any more power to it. There's no point. Something is wrong. We turned it up a whole lot. There's a number of reasons why it could be wrong, right? Now, speccing a converter at this point in time is somewhat trial and error. You get what's called a stator, which goes inside the converter. This is why we run bolt together torque converters. I'm trying to think if I have a stator laying around anywhere. I think I do. I definitely told you I had a stator. Let's just set this down right here and talk about it. All right, so here's a stator. You guys are getting some tech from old John today, which it might be terrifying. This right here is, I think this is a Circle D stator. Everyone builds a different stator. There's a number of different things that go into it. You don't want to start mix matching company stators. If you got a Circle D converter, call Pete at Circle D and get you a stator. This converter is a Mickey lockup converter, so we're going to call Mark Mickey and get a new stator. It's not Mark's fault because we got this converter used. So we don't know what I think we know what stator's in there, but there's a couple things that could have happened. One, if the stator's in there backwards, it's pretty much like direct drive. That could be happening because it's just like zero flash. It's like 1-to-1. The drive shaft and the RPM are like locked together. If it is just the stator being spec'd wrong, that's when we get into what stator you're gonna run. So you'll hear guys talk, oh, I'm running a 1632.5, I'm running a 1535, I'm running a 1730. What does that mean? So you guys at home, it's very simple. The first number is how many blades you got. So if we're running a 15, it would have 15 blades, and if it's a 32.5, it would be at 32.5 degrees. That right there is Stator's 101. Very simple. I don't know the calculations. I don't know which way it goes. You can tighter or looser or this and that. I know we went from like a 1735 to a 1532.5, and it tightened the hell out of it. So depending on your setup, whether you're running a turbo, supercharger, nitrous, your stators are going to be different. The good thing about having a bolt together stator is you can make one converter do all of those things. You can have a converter that worked great with, like, let's say this converter was for a screw blower. It worked great for a screw blower. We're going to change the stator and make it work great with a turbo. So that's kind of where we're at. Some people were like, hey man, why'd you guys not turn it up anymore on the dyno? That's why. There's no point to lay on it if the converter's not right. I did not have any other stators there with me. A lot of times you got to test the stator. So like you'll call up Pete at Circle D, and he's very good. He's got me spot on like right out the gate. And if it's not right, you try it. Now you have a reference. You know, hey, this one, let's say it's like a 1532.5, was a little bit too loose. So you need to tighten it up some, and then he'll send you another one. That's how it works. That's how the stators and everything go. So everything on the car, as far as dyno testing, performed great. No oil leaks. I saw a couple people comment and say, hey man, I think it's leaking oil under the turbo, and that's false. This thing here is as you can see, I got some rusty water here from when it was idling before. When you fire up a methanol car, a lot of condensation in the exhaust, it will drip out of the V-bands. So that's why you'll always see me revving it. Oh my God, it all makes sense now. I didn't say anything for like 2 years, but now you guys understand why I rev it before I make a pass. When I fire the car up, once it gets a little heat in there, I'm constantly revving it. I'm trying to blow all that water out of the exhaust. I'm trying to get it hot enough so it doesn't produce any condensation that will then leak on the track. I do it before my burnouts. I do it pretty much all the time. I try to get everything nice and hot so there's no condensation. The last thing you want is water to be dripping. Yes, you can seal all your V-bands with RTV. I don't like doing that. It's a pain in the ass to work on, and then you have to scrape it off and reapply if you ever take it on and off. Just a couple revs and it's gone. Do I overdo it? I like to rev them. They sound good. I don't know what to tell you. It just is what it is. So for the people that were like concerned that the turbo is leaking oil, it was actually just water leaking from that V-band. So, and then, you know, it'll leak from this V-band as well when it's just first fired up. Once you get it warm, you got nothing to worry about. Let's see. Another big topic was the rear spring. Why on earth are we only running one spring? As you can see there, we got our QA1 mod shocks with one coilover spring on them. Guys, we are being innovative. We are testing, and I think it's going to work great. This car is very light in the ass. We want to have proper shaft at ride height, so like we don't want to have like 8 inches of shaft showing because then you only have 1 inch of travel. We don't want 4 inches of shaft showing because then you only have 5 inches of travel. We want to have 1 inch of shaft showing, so we have 8 inches of shock travel. And as you guys saw, when any power was applied on the dyno, it separated. Now, some people commented and said, oh, the car separated before he clicked the trans brake. Well, the hub dyno is different because the trans brake is not engaged, so when he's flooring it, even though it's on the two-step, it is applying power, so it is causing separation. If the trans brake were to be on, when he would let go of the button, then the car would separate. But on the dyno, again, it's a simulation, so not everything is like two-spec. But you could see the shocks work, clearly. A lot of separation, which is very good, and these shocks are super tunable. The reason that we went with the one coil spring is we could not, with two, get our desired ride height. We had too much spring. So even two 55 inch-pound springs, that's 110 inch-pounds, was too much. So now we have one 75 inch-pound spring on there, and it is working great. Now, I know what a lot of you guys are going to say, oh man, that's not going to work, that's not going to work. I don't see why it wouldn't work. On a drag car, the spring does absolutely nothing. It sets ride height. Doesn't do anything else. This ain't no prep. We're not having any stored energy. We don't need any help getting it to separate. All we're doing is selecting the ride height. So, I've seen some people go down track with no springs on the car. On a radial car that separates, you can do that. On a slick car where you're going to have it compress, you cannot do that. Obviously, you need to have a spring there and not have the car riding on the bump stop. A little fun fact for you. The Black Sheep is rigid at ride height. The spring does nothing. So, I know this is different. I know it's something that you guys haven't seen before, but I'm going to say you guys are going to have to trust us, and we're going to test it and prove that it should work, or it's not going to work, and we'll be like, hey, you guys told us so. So I think those were like our three big things on the dyno. Monday, I'm going to get this car up on the lift. I'm going to pull the converter out. I'm going to look at the stator and see if it's in there backwards. It's a used converter, so whoever was in there last could have accidentally put it in there upside down, and that could be why it was acting the way it was. Hopefully, maybe so that's what happened, because then it'll get us back to the dyno quicker. If not, only a couple days. I know M&M Transmissions, they will send us a new stator out here, put in the converter, and we should be, back on schedule. So we're at the very, 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 very end of the building journey here, but this is part of it. This is why it's very useful to go to the dyno, because you can get this stuff figured out. So there you go. There's your Slick Rick update. It's looking good. It sounds absolutely amazing. Kevin, Matt, really everyone. Steven, Rock Solid Motorsports, Devin, HDR Innovations. We got the Race Tech seat in there. M&M Transmissions, Hearts Turbo, Proline 481X. I mean, every single person and company that has helped out, we run in their parts on this build, anything like that. It's really come together nice, and we're at the home stretch. Very excited. Oh, HOLLEY EFI, MSD, ECU Masters. Can't forget any of that stuff. Full spectrum battery. Full spectrum power. We're running their like 2000 battery. It thing's absolutely bad to the bone. As you can see, we got everybody all stickered up here on the car. That helps out. Turbo Smart, Hearts Turbo, DCF, Race Part Solutions, TISS, Fab, ECU Masters, Cameron Johnson Race Cars, TKM, Brown & Miller, T&D, Wheelchair Mafia, Rock Solid Motorsports, Race Tech, Birch Brothers Flooring, QA1. A lot of badass people behind this build, a lot of badass companies, and I think it's going to fly. So if you guys can just hang on just a wee bit longer, we'll get this sucker all tidied up and to the racetrack.